Hey guys, I'm Richard Wygand, a Dead on a Mission, and today podcast I decided to kind of open up a little bit and talk about the most magical time in my life, which it was when I became a father. It was the birth of my child. Uh, so I'm gonna explain a little bit what I did before in preparation to, to his receiving, and I probably gonna talk a little bit about his birth because a lot of people ask me how was his birth. Due to the fact that he has Nemaline myopathy, but our preparation was pretty simple. Like everything was pretty normal until the week 18, where they found a mass on the lung that they thought it could be a CCAM. It's kind of hard to explain what a CCAM is, but if you Google CCAM in babies, you'll be able to see. But he grew out of it. The mass was gone by week 30, and then he was born with 38 weeks and 1 day. So the one of my preparations that I did priority to become a father, first thing is like I told my wife the minute that she got pregnant, like I want to be part of every single thing. I want to make sure that I go to every doctor's visit, which I did. I'm gonna make sure that like I'm on top of everything that is going on with him, and that's what I did. The other thing I did was I created an email account under his name, and I emailed him pretty much like for the next 6 months. I probably 6 months of the pregnancy, I probably sent him an email like almost every month talking about who I was, who I am, and what I do, and what I was doing to preparation of his arrival, which I read when he was in the hospital, and I still planning to read when he gets older, that when he's understanding a little bit more, so he can kind of, like I think it's kind of cool to have the process of, like to when somebody grow up, and I think it would be kind of cool to understand what was going on the parents' life when they got pregnant. So I think it was pretty cool. So that's what I did. I emailed him a few times, and I'm gonna keep reading that for him. The other thing I really did was to play music for him when he was in the belly, and to talk to him a lot. I did talk to him quite a bit, and you gotta understand why he actually helped me in a little bit. But I talked to him quite a bit. The other thing I did also was we hired a doula, and which is for me was like night and day difference. It helps quite a bit, especially like when you have moments during birth that we need to, like we kind of need somebody from outside with a different perspective, and the doulas really help on that. We use it, the doulas of Palm Beaches. They're really good. We were living in Florida on that time, and we are very happy that we hired one. The other thing that we did is in the beginning we wanted to do everything natural as possible. We actually was talking about doing a home birth on at home in the pool, and but the funny thing is our intuition and our vibe wasn't, every place that we went and we talked to, and every place that and everybody that we talked to that you would be able to do a home birth, the vibe wasn't connecting, and like thankfully we trust our intuition on that because if he had done the birth at home, it would have been a disaster. I'm not saying that birth at homes are not cool or not good, but I really believe that it would be awesome to have a home birth. But in our case, I'm really glad that we didn't go that route, because it could have been something way worse, and you will understand in a little bit. So everything was fine during the whole pregnancy. And then they were suspecting that he was a big baby. Every time we measured, and the last measurement that we have, he was like 9.5 pounds, I believe, and which is pretty big. So we were thinking that he was. That's what the measurement was saying. And the only thing that they noticed difference is that she had a little bit more fluid. And it's like based on the weight, or his weight that they were measuring, it was only 1% to 2% more water. But either way, that was something that they needed to check. So when we hit 38 weeks, we decided to induce, because everything was getting so big and we had so much water and nobody knew what was going on. So we were like, okay, that's the closest thing to a natural birth that we can do, so let's do it. So we started the process on July 5th, and the birth took about 28 hours. So again, thanks for the doulas being there, because it made a huge difference. But so we started the process. We induced my wife, and but the things weren't getting into the rhythm like they're supposed to. Now we understand, because my son has a muscle condition and makes it harder to get out, because the baby does help too when the mom is pushing. So she never got into really labor, so we decided to get Pitocin, and she took the epidural at midnight. So we started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by midnight she did all that, and it was a wise decision. But something happened during around 4 a.m. that my son's heart rate really dropped to like 20s, and I got really scared. But they changed the position, my wife's position, because they thought that he could be on his umbilical cord could be in the wrong position, and making his heart rate drop. So once we changed, things went back to normal. So the doula told me, like, you should go outside for a walk for a little bit. So I remember that day I looked to the sky and I was like, okay, what's going on? Please just make this process as smooth as possible. And like I looked at the stars again. I was like, okay, so be it. Let's just have like a smooth birth. So I went back to the room, and things went, started to push and try to things started to go into the process. So and then I was, I was ready to catch him and do all the things that I wanted to do, like I was prepared to catch him. But by the next day in the morning, things were, I don't know, like I started seeing like a lot more movement around the room. There were like 3 doctors around and 7 nurses around, and then we were like, okay, I started thinking something's going on. And then the doctor said, like, you're gonna help me, but I'm gonna catch him. And I was like, okay. So he was born. I was able to cut the umbilical cord, but the doctor caught him, and I just noticed like a lot of movement in the room. And then on that time, like for me, it kind of felt like if everything froze. So when I saw they were, taking the secretions out of his mouth and doing a little bit of cardiac massage, I was like, okay, this is freaky, And then the doula looked to me. She's like, he needs to listen to a familiar voice. Go talk to him. And so I went and talked to my son, and that was probably like the most magical thing that happened. So I went to him and said, like, Dad is here. He grabbed my finger and hold it like this, and that was the only movement he did for the next 72 hours. So he was like intubated in 8 minutes. I took him to the NICU. He was stable, but we didn't know what was going on. So I asked the doctor there's like, okay, explain to me what is his chances, what's going on. So she said, like, we really don't know what's going on, but it's like, I think he will be fine, and he just need to see some specialists. So from there, we were actually transferred to Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital in Fort Lauderdale, where we spent 90 days until we get the diagnosis of pneumolime myopathy. But that's the what I really wanted to talk. That's the story of the birth. But what I really wanted to talk, it's the first thing is the kids feel it. Like the kids really like, even though they're in the belly, they feel it. They listen to you, they listen to your voice. It's very important to talk to the kids, like. And in my case, imagine if I haven't talked to him and then I go over there and say something, and he was gonna be looking like, who's this guy? No, but seriously, it makes a huge difference, because it's all energy and connection and love. So it's very important to kind of talk to your kids during the when they are in the womb, and it makes a huge difference. In my case, it made like an insane difference. And also, like, having a doula and participating, for me, it's like, it's key on fatherhood, to understand what's going on and to understand exactly, to be part of it. And that really, I think, really helped me in the sense of dealing with everything what's going on. And yes, people sometimes ask me, like, it was like emotional, stressful, and everything you can imagine during the birth. It was for me, but it was still magical. It was still, I know we had challenges, and I always say that challenge makes us stronger. And it was a huge challenge, not only for me, not only for Luke, and not only for my wife, for everybody that was in that room. It was a big challenge. But like, because we had, like, the whole family had this whole connection, things were, it got better, and it was magical. It was like, even with all that stress, even with all that challenge, which I usually say, like, be grateful for your life challenges, because they made you stronger. And that moment was a life-changing experience, not only because I was becoming a father, but because of how everything took place, how everything happened, how everything went in through that day. That's what it makes it so magical. That's what it makes it, like, so good for me, because, like, I honestly, that day I probably grown, I don't know, like 50% of what everything I learned in my life. I don't know, but it was like such a lesson and such like a beautiful experience, and it made such a difference, the fact that I was always on board with everything that was going on, always talking to him, and like explaining, many times, like I remember sitting close to the belly and talking about life, like just explaining how life was on earth. So I think that makes like a huge difference to anybody's life. And like I said, it was a challenge. I was scared a lot of the time, especially when I saw his heart rate going down to 20, which it happens twice. It happens a little bit before he was actually out, and it happens at 4 a.m. during those 28 hours. And it's still a really magical moment. It was like spirit experience, I must say, or I don't know. It was something that they really changed me and changed my life forever, which I'm really grateful. Those, like I said, I grown so much after he was born, and especially during his birth. It was such a magical experience. Yes, maybe we were thinking it would be different, but I usually say, and I'm a very spiritual guy. I'm a Reiki master, and I meditate quite a bit, and I'm always into spirituality, astrology, and all that stuff. And I believe that right before we come here, we kind of have a sense on how our life is gonna be, and how you're gonna go, what you're gonna go through. And basically, what I'm trying to say is, like, you sign up for it. It's the same thing. Like I joke with my athletes for Ironman, because sometimes they look at the training plans. It's like, oh my God, are you crazy? Of like, listen, you're the one who signed up for an Ironman. I just want to make sure that you finish that in like feeling good. But and for that you got to train. And it's the same thing when you decide to have a baby, like you don't know what's gonna come out from there, and you don't know what's gonna happen, or you do know, because when you prepare to come for this life, you kind of have an idea. And like I said, you signed up for this, like it was your decision to have a baby and all of this stuff. So that's my view, like I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but that's my view. And like with all the challenges, I think the challenges that we had made it even more magical. And I always say, like, if my son was born with nothing, and it was like, I was gonna say, like, my life wouldn't have changed. And I'm really grateful for all the change that happened in my life, because like it was a big blessing. So yes, it was like the most magical time. It was challenging, a challenging birth. Everything was quite a bit of challenge, but it was the most magical time in my life. So, and I can easily say that that's way better than crossing any Ironman finish line that I ever did in my life. So like every time I go back and remember when he grabbed my finger, he recognized my voice. And like when he grabbed my finger from me, I must say, like, when at that moment he was saying, like, I'm okay, Dad, don't you worry. I really think that he took an effort to grab my finger and just say, like, it was his way of saying, I'm okay, don't you worry about it. So that's my most magical moment in my life. A lot of people, like I said, a lot of people think it's very challenging, and maybe they feel scared or whatever it is. But like, trust me, it's the most magical time of my life. It was challenging, but like I said, the challenge makes us get stronger. I tell that to everybody. Like, every challenge that you go in your life is just making you a better human and making you a better person, and it's making you stronger. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This podcast is a little short, I know, but is an emotional and deep podcast, I would say. But check it out, my website at deadonthemission.com, or check out my foundation called golookwygand.foundation. The website is just like that, golookwygand.foundation. And if you are going to have a baby, or if your wife is pregnant, or if you have kids right now, talk to them. Don't yell, just talk to them, because they do listen to you. They do understand, especially when they're little kids, like, especially when they're in the womb. They're gonna recognize your voice. They know, they understand. Well, that's my view. And like I said, we signed up for this. I really honestly believe that we come here with a purpose. We come here having an idea. Sometimes you might not know why things are happening, but they do happen for a reason. And I'm grateful for the challenges that came with my first son, because it's making me a better human, it's making me a better person, and it's changing my life for the good. Okay, so check it out, the websites, and have a great day. Thank you.